All righty. Now, Adio, what is it about Dr. Sebi that sparked your interest in him when you were in St. Croix?
His passion for nature, herbs, and people of color. Dr. Sebi was a man of color, a black man who loved black people. And to have that passion, to be a healer, it requires that passion. You have to not only love yourself, which he obviously did, you also have to love your people, because you're going to be working with people who are sick, people who don't feel good about themselves, people who don't have enough resources to even maybe pay for the supplements, not the supplements, the products that they would need to actually become better, physically.
Okay, great, very good. Now, you invited Dr. Sebi to come to Washington, D.C., and you are one of the reasons why we know that there is a man called Dr. Sebi. Now, tell me why you invited Dr. Sebi to Washington, D.C.
Okay. Well, part of my reason was a little selfish, because as I told you earlier, I had a fibroid or a cyst in my breast at 17, got it cut out, and then at 18, the cyst came right back. So, based on that and the fact that I knew that there were other young women of color who also were facing the same issues with the fibroids, either in their female organs or in their breasts. And so I knew that we needed a way to look at natural healing from our own perspective. And I'll say that's the thing. Dr. Sebi developed the African biomineral system, along with Ma'a, of course. So we needed an approach that was going to work directly with us. One of the things that I learned from Sebi when I was in St. Croix is that people of different races require different things. Like, let's say a person of African descent can't work well with salt, whereas an Asian can work well with salt. A person of African descent doesn't work well with the starches in our body, the white rice, all the degenerated starches, whereas people of other ethnic groups, they can eat the rice and not have the same issues that we would have. It's just like Sebi always said, like if you take a gorilla out of the rainforest and put him in Alaska, how will you supply the foods that he needs? And that's important because we needed to know specifically what works best with us. And that's the type of research that Ma'a and Dr. Sebi did. And they had a research component of the fig tree, which is important. And that's how they were able to learn what really worked for us.
Now, when you were in St. Croix, Ma'a was in St. Croix also?
Yes, Ma'a and Dr. Sebi came to St. Croix together.
Okay.
I mean, they were a family.
Sure. Was she involved with the Garden Holistic Institute?
No, she was not. Because at that time, in the early stage, she was pregnant. And then she just had a newborn. So she wasn't really out like that.
Okay, great. Now, Dr. Sebi often says that he was reluctant to come to Washington, D.C. It was hard to get him to come.
Yes.
So how did you convince him to come? What did you say to him?
Wow, I think a part of it is my respect and love for the work that he was doing. And then when I saw the power of the work, and how did I see the power? In the way that the herbs made me feel when I started taking the herbs from the fig tree. And then I had a friend, her name is Sade. I mentioned her before. Her daughter was blind. And she called Ma'a and asked her for a packet, and Ma'a gave her that packet, and subsequently her daughter did recover her vision.
Wow, very good. So the proof is in the pudding, so they say.
Definitely.
Okay, so he had already convinced you through those results that he should come to Washington, D.C.
Because I felt that our people, that means us black people, we needed to know alternative healing. At that time, alternative healing was still relatively new to us.
Okay. Now, you and your husband, Arisa, were the hosts for Dr. Sebi's visit to Washington, D.C. Tell us about that experience.
Well, that had to do with the community warehouse, which was a natural food warehouse. And it could support Dr. Sebi being there because at the time it was a multi-million-dollar operation.
Really? Tell us
Yes.
about it. Tell us about the community warehouse.
Well, the community warehouse was a warehouse that sold bulk food items, all types of grains. We also, at that time, because we didn't know better, we sold all types of cheeses. We sold organic vegetables, organic fruits. And when I say we sold all types of bulk grains, I'm talking about wild rice, quinoa, brown rice, short grain, long grain, medium grain. Yes.
Okay. So you and your husband, Arisa
Akil.
Akil, you ran the community warehouse?
Well, the community warehouse was actually a collective group, which was started by 7 brothers, not blood brothers, but 7, African Americans.
Right.
And many of them had been in, they were Vietnam veterans. And Adisa was, and so was Abdul Salim, who was a major part of it. There was Nizam, there was Dariki, there were, like I said, 7 of them, and then there was Hakika. Hakika was one of the main females who was a part of the group, and there was one other sister who was also a part of the group.
So you helped them run the community warehouse?
Well, actually, as the wife of Adisa, I basically ran the upstairs. I really had very little to do with the downstairs. And that's how Sebi was able to come in, because I worked with the upstairs, which gave events where speakers were. We had people like Gary Bartz, Andy Bay, Chief Bay, Olatunji. These were the people who were coming to the warehouse at that time.
And you wanted Dr. Sebi to be a part of that, or those events?
Yes, because upstairs was a platform for speakers and musicians and artists.
Fantastic, great. So how long were you there?
I was there for 7 years.
7 years of community warehouse. Okay.
Yes.
And so Dr. Sebi spoke often?
Dr. Sebi spoke often, and at one point for a 3-year period, he was there regularly, speaking often at the warehouse and then at other locations as well, and on the radio.
Sure. Did he see clients there?
Yes, he did. Yes.
Okay, right. Now, speaking of clients, do you know the Jimmy Stroud and the Keely Stroud story?
I don't really know that story in detail, because this is the thing. Like I said, I was more upstairs, which he would have been coming up there, but I still was new in the beginning. I wasn't from D.C., so I was new to the area, and I was new to culture in that way, in the way that it was lived at the community warehouse.
Okay, great. Now, what was the feedback like from the community with all the things that were going on?
They loved Sebi. They loved Sebi. And people saw instant results. Because one of the things with the formulas that my aunt, Dr. Sebi, put together, if you never experienced it, taking the Maya, or taking the Nervino, or the H1, or the T1, you're going to feel that almost instantly, because here you're putting something into your body that you never had before. So it's giving you an effect that you never experienced. So you're able to identify the fact that this is something real that's happening to me, because it's happening, and also because it's something that you never experienced before.
So there was a positive feedback from the community.
Yeah, there was a great, overwhelmingly positive feedback and response.
Okay, very good.
To Dr. Sebi.
Good. So you did a good thing.
And his formulas.
Okay. So how did he express his reluctance in coming, though?
Based on the experience he had in St. Croix, and then with the knowledge that he had about the limited information that African Americans had about the form of healing that he was doing. That's why he was like wondering, okay, how is this really going to be? But I just kept prodding and prodding. I was like, look, it's going to be good. And the first thing is that the people at the warehouse are great. The people at the community warehouse are great. They're open. They're all vegetarian. Actually, more than vegetarian. They were all vegan. So it was a great place to come to and start. And then, like I said, we could sustain Sebi. We could accommodate him, and then he complimented us with what we were doing with the food, and then we complimented him with the people who came to buy the food.
Okay, very good. Thank you.